Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Indigo Soul, the channeler, coming back with another episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today with Pretty Mess Podcast. So before we get the engine rolling, y'all go ahead and show me some love by smashing the like button to boost up the algorithm, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. So that way you don't miss out on any of the content I'll be posting. Trust and believe in divine timing, my channel will grow. It's going to take some time, but I am definitely manifesting this into the universe. So if you are new or unfamiliar, I am a natural-born gifted, yes gifted, psychic medium hailing from Minneapolis, the city of where a lot of magic happened, including the iconic career of the purple one, the symbol, Prince Rogers Nelson. I have the abilities of clairvoyance, which is to see visuals, clairaudience, which is to hear audible messages, clairsentience, the sense of feeling, and claircognizance, the sense of knowing. My gift started as a young teen when I was about 15 or 16 years old and strongly developed over the years. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am pretty lit in the spiritual world, so no lie about that. For the past couple of years, I've connected with some amazing spirits such as Kobe and Gigi Bryant, Mamba for Life, LFO members Devin Lima and Rich Cronin, Mac Miller, daughter of Malcolm X, Malika Shabazz, St. Paul, Minnesota's finest, Lexi Alajay, Norma Jean Mortensen, formerly known as the Marilyn Monroe, and last but not least, Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls. Brooklyn represent. Love you guys. So anyway, I started to come up with something to do outside of my regular day job, which is a podcast. I developed a love for talk radio back when I was in high school many moons ago. I used to listen in on this talk show with this lady named Delilah. She would give advice to some of her callers and they'd be brutally but funny at the same time. I was literally hooked every single night, y'all. Like, this show was just so epic. Then I would later create a funny show with my younger sister and we would just play around and record and make up our own show on our tape recorder. So till this day, Delilah's show is still in syndication, including on iHeartRadio. So big shout out to Delilah, though. She has been a big inspiration to me over the years. Thank you so much. Now, let's get into it. In this segment, I'm going to talk about an NBA legend who had his career cut short tragically by his ex-wife, Shira Wright Robinson, and former pastor named Billy Ray Turner. His death made headlines, and many have mourned over the loss of this wonderful person. He really loved basketball, y'all. Like, he lived, breathed, slept basketball. Like, that was his life. He was born to Deborah Marion and Herb Wright in Oxford, Mississippi on November 4th, 1975. He was raised with 3 other siblings. He was a doting father that loves all of his children and was even a mama's boy. So prior to March 17, 2023, I remember hearing the name Lorenzen Wright multiple times before the end of 2022. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I was a bit skeptical because I've heard he was an abuser and I was a bit judgmental. I didn't get the opportunity to hear his side of the story from the beginning months ago. So later I decided to put together this segment so that way the spirit of Lorenzen Wright can really tell everyone what happened that tragic evening of July 10th, 2010. The messages I've received didn't quite match up to what was in the testimonies in the case. Also, there is an important message that I'll later relay here. It's some things we need to clarify. But anyway, this confessional is actually a retake due to a lost file. So the one that I had months ago, for some reason it got lost in my secret vault. But Lorenzen had no problem with sharing his testimony, again, only this time more detail. Lorenzen was being a little funny at the beginning by doing this confessional, by kind of throwing me off with some information, but was truthful with what he wanted to share. So what's done in the dark always comes to light.
Listener's discretion is advised.
March 17th, 2023. I am a father of 7 kids who I love all very much, including Sierra Wright. She's with me. I just want to say I really appreciate you looking out for me and my daughter. You mean a lot to us. I am eternally grateful. My name is Lorenzen Vern Gagney Wright, born November 4th, 1975, in Oxford, Mississippi. Guess that makes us birthday twins. I was a former NBA star going up the ranks. I played for the team LA Clippers and was even on the Cavaliers after LeBron. I was extremely talented in the sport. I loved doing what I did. It started off as a kid. I had dreams of being a basketball star, being pro. I practiced my craft heavily, mainly every day. Whether if I was at a park or at school, my passion for basketball changed me as a person. I was recruited to a coach/scout in high school to get prepared. They showed up to a game at school and became interested in working with me. I wanted to stay on my A game, so just in case someone came along to connect with me. Once I was shown the ropes over time, I went to my first draft. I didn't make the cut. I was devastated, but I kept going. Literally a year after that, I was on the drafting list, number 7 pick. In case people don't know the meaning of drafting, it's basically the coaches and stuff review on your plays. They do ratings of what they feel requires you to be on the NBA team, based on things like the positions, how well you play with others, how many shots, etc. Once I got picked to go on the LA Clippers, I was happy as I ain't gonna lie. One of the happiest days of my life. So now, I'm gonna rewind a bit of history of my past with someone I used to love and was married to, Shira, the author of her best-selling book, Mr. Tell Me Anything, which was falsely directed towards me. A lot of those things were fabricated. I'll explain why later. We met like our junior year of high school and carried on through college. Got married shortly after that. She used to date a public figure before me, a much older man by the name of Isaac Hayes. She was gold digging then, barely out of high school and dated a man twice her age. But anyway, I was in love with her. Once the lifestyle changed after I got drafted to the NBA, things slowly took a turn. No, I was not the most faithful, as that comes with the territory of being an NBA star. Pussy is gonna come every which way. Temptation was everywhere, not just the beautiful women. I'll admit I wasn't the best with my money. Should have been smarter with my money instead of balling out of control. I was tricking off women in the strip club a lot, especially Magic City. The flashbacks, I was loving it. But that's not what a husband should be doing. I was partially to blame in our marriage, but Shira played a big role. Now, if anyone read that book, she fabricatedly created it for a come up, on top of getting that insurance money shortly after my death. Just know she wasn't innocent. Clearly why she's locked up today. The stress, the anxiety, her nagging me to the point where I was getting involved with other women, us arguing and never coming to a common ground. She started the most of the arguments like putting her hand in my face in a shoving manner. one time I got fed up and actually hit her. I got tired of feeling like a simp by not hitting women, because that's what my beautiful mother Deborah taught me, is to never hit a woman. I was raised by women, so it was a shameful thing to do. But 𝓚, pushed me to the edge. It got too much. The deal breaker was when we lost our daughter, 𝓚. She was barely a year old, died of sudden infant death syndrome. Then having to address it publicly was a lot. I wanted to grieve in peace and take a break, but I couldn't. Thankfully, I received a lot of love and support from people around the world. That lifted me up. I later started to see someone else who I was digging. This was months before our divorce. Once I started dating, I felt like doing a reset button. I was just getting rid of something toxic and needed a clean slate. I felt like things were pretty unstable and trying to rebuild. Tried to handle my financial situation while co-parenting with my then wife. She was being spiteful, like not wanting me to see my kids at times and things like that. It was crazy. My mama definitely couldn't stand her. Mamas always know what you don't. Remember that. She was my world, my queen. She was so loving and supportive. I wanted to take care of her the best way I could. I guess my mama was trying to warn me about 𝓚 from the jump, but I didn't care. I was in love with her at the time. So before I get into more details about my death, I want to explain something to the public. There's a psychic medium, Abigail Noel, who just so happened to be a detective as well, has lied on my name and story. Now, I want to be clear that she has got some partial work done to help solve the case, and I appreciate it. But let's be real. Tell the whole truth at least. I, Lorenzen 𝓚𝓛𝓸𝓻𝓪 of Oxford, Mississippi, is letting the public know from this authentic psychic medium, Miss Indigo Soul the Channeler, is getting the exclusive tea. Just for the record, I did not give consent for her to tap into my energy initially. Then she assured me she wanted to help solve my case. But the truth of the matter is, she got some things wrong. What's even more disappointing is letting my own mother know about something untrue, which is how I died. And another thing, old dude ain't say pretty mother to me. So anyway, let's get into how I really died and what happened that night. Main reason was money motivated and being hurt. Being hurt leads to anger, which leads you to do the unthinkable. Anything. 𝓚 knew my life insurance was worth over $1 million in this policy. I didn't leave a will. Lost my mansion into foreclosure after thousands of dollars behind. 𝓚 was freaking out that she was going to be an NBA wife on the street. She didn't want to go back to normal. She was used to the lifestyle for a long time. She was determined to not go back to the basics. She wanted to figure out a major come up. She had some talks with her pastor, Billy Ray Turner, which she had an adulterous relationship with. She lied and said I was beating on her regularly and she was keeping things from her family. He, the pastor, fell for her stories and felt bad for her. They started a close relationship. She mastermindedly came up with this plan to come up with some money, to hire a hitman and come up with the money. The pastor came up with the idea that he knew someone who could get the job done. The plan went on for months, as well as their secret relationship. So the night I got murdered, I just came home from practice. I was retired by then, but still played. I didn't plan on going to a baby shower, but had gifts. The kids weren't there, thankfully. When I pulled up, I noticed a car that was not recognizable. The first thing I said was, "Who the is in my driveway? I rushed to get in the house and noticed 𝓲𝓪𝓻𝓪, Billy Ray Turner, and an unknown man who was friends with Billy Ray Turner. No kin to 𝓲𝓪. I was confused as to why they were there. It kicked in that they broke into my temporary home. 𝓲𝓪 made a copy of my keys. They were all sitting on the couch. The friend of Billy Ray Turner was sitting on the edge of the couch. 𝓲𝓪 had her head down majority of the time while Billy Ray was questioning me about beating on 𝓲𝓪. An argument broke out. We ended up tussling on the ground in front of the house. I ended up losing the fight and was thrown into the trunk of the car that was unrecognizable. They had me tied, wrists together, and bound my ankles before throwing me in the trunk of the car. I was trying to scream for help. Billy Ray Turner was driving. 𝓲𝓪 was next to him in the front seat. The friend of Billy Ray Turner tagged along in a different vehicle. They drove to this dark, wooded area. They, the guys, dragged me down this hill. I didn't know what they was going to do to me. They stripped me down to my boxers. They had a flashlight on, a big bright one. I glanced at 𝓲𝓪 with this bright-ass light facing me in disgust. She looked very shameful, could barely look at me. I knew then my life was going to end. 𝓲𝓪 made a 911 call. The last words that Billy Ray Turner said was punk ass n***. They, 𝓲𝓪 and Billy Ray, shot at me multiple times. I fell down. Life flashed at me quick. Within a millisecond, my life flashed before my eyes. Even a brief moment of us getting married, me and 𝓲𝓪, and the birth of our children. Just like that, I was gone. My spirit left out of my body and watched them make a run from the woods. They, 𝓲𝓪 and Billy Ray, told a friend of Billy Ray Turner to get rid of the guns. I was deeply hurt. If you in the NBA, you gotta make a pact somehow. That was the fate of my life. I had dreams of being a basketball star and make my mother, 𝓟𝓪𝓻𝓪𝓻𝓪, proud. And later to be an inspiration to my beautiful and handsome children and my fans. They mean the world to me. At least I got one part of my family here with me. My daughter 𝓤𝓪. I'm glad my sons got in my footsteps to doing the basketball thing. I'm very proud of them. Keep that legacy going, for real. My beautiful daughters, I'm glad they are doing well for themselves. Oh yeah, and I miss my best friend too. That was my we go way back. Brother for life. To my pops, I love and miss you dearly. Well, that's my story for now. Marriage tip: communicate, love unconditionally, and support each other to level up in life. Oh yeah, and don't cheat. Last tip: always stay on guard. Never let them catch you slipping, Pippin. Final notes from March 18th and the 19th. Oh yeah, and I ain't never sold drugs a day in my life. I did smoke though. That was about it. Nothing else. And I was not an abusive person. Alright you guys, so I'm going to do a quick tarot analysis for Lorenzen, right? I had a question in particular regarding the notes. I was kind of confused since it was not described in the autopsy report. And the question was Lorenzen Wright tied up before getting murdered? So even though it was already confirmed by Lorenzen, the spirit of Lorenzen, I just decided to do the tarot analysis for the podcast. So there were 4 cards to describe the scene of the night of July 10th, 2010. So the first one is the 3 of Cups, which so happens to represent The main participants, ex-wife Shira Wright Robinson, the former pastor Billy Ray Turner, and Jimmy Martin. So as you can see, they look like they're celebrating their, it's just a big collaboration. They're excited, to basically, get that insurance money. That's what that kind of describes. The temperance card basically shows an angel pouring water in 2 cups. It's nearby water and by some grass. So it looks, obviously it's out in nature. So that kind of described the scene out in nature, even though Lorenzen was not nearby water, but he was found in a wooded area according to the autopsy and news report. And the hermit card, as you can see, it's a guy holding up a flashlight. So that also describes the scene that, they had the big flashlight, and Lorenzen mentioned that someone put the big flashlight in his face before firing off. And also the last card, the devil, which basically confirms that he was in fact tied up. So if you look at the photo, it has the devil and it has 2 people being chained up, being bound. And also, so for the 3 of Cups and the devil card basically describes, the people coming together to do a bad deed and make some money. That's basically, a quick analysis on that. And then last but not least, there was an article somewhere, I found it on Google somewhere, that an assistant district attorney, Paul Hagerman, identified Jimmy Martin as Shira's cousin. So the death card pulled, and that basically confirmed, no, they are not, in fact, cousins. They're not related. It was mentioned multiple times in the mediumship notes. So Jimmy Martin and Shira Wright are not related. So I don't know why they decided to come up together with that idea, but they're not related. So that has been confirmed also. All right, you guys. So I'm giving my final commentary on this whole situation here. But first things first, there was an important message that I wanted to relay here that I mentioned early on in the segment. So it just so happens to be about this psychic named Abigail Noel. I guess she's been in the game for over 2 decades. She's, I guess, a seasoned psychic medium, and she's been helping out with law enforcement, with cold cases and things of that nature. So I kind of learned about her a little recently. So what I wanted to put out here is, it's not good information, because not only Lorenzen Wright mentioned that she kind of twisted some things around or lied about some things. Also, this special guest that I'm going to put out, he wanted to put in his little 2 cents. He goes by none other than Prince Rogers Nelson, the Purple One of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I communicate with him quite frequently because we are in fact a part of the same soul family. We have a strong spiritual connection, and he's one of my guardians. So he doesn't go to everybody because, he picks and chooses with who he wants to communicate with. So according to this message from March 17th of this year, 2023, he stated, Prince doesn't connect with Abigail Noel, doesn't like the energy, per office of Prince Rogers Nelson. According to Funkatopia.com, there's an article about me and psychic Abigail Noel. It stated, Prince was murdered. It wasn't an accidental overdose, but completely intentional, as planned through a collaboration of Prince's sister, Tyka Nelson, Warner Brothers, and his personal chef, Ray Roberts, end quote. My sister and quote unquote personal chef Ray Roberts was not in on my death. Let's be clear about that one. So that came directly from the spirit of Prince. So he don't want nobody lying on his name. So he want me to be like, no, baby, we don't communicate, and I guess I kind of looked around like on Facebook. She advocately posts about Prince and she's a fan and she's been talking about all this stuff about Prince. So even though this episode is not for Prince, but he definitely wanted to put this message out since we just so happened to talk about this psychic Abigail Noel. And that's the thing. Anytime I receive any kind of message from a particular spirit, I have to reconfirm, because I'm like, look, I don't want to come out here looking stupid, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would sometimes ask them more than once just to confirm, so that way I get the facts right. And it might be a few things I want to confirm with tarot, but other than that, I just want to make sure I get my facts right before I put it out for public information, because it's only right. And this is another issue with a lot of psychic mediums. They tap into these spirits without their consent and they're not happy about it, And on top of that, a lot of these mediums don't want to help out these spirits. So they just think they can just tap into whomever they want and then just put out misinformation about a particular spirit. And then, a lot of people might think like, oh, they may be right, because they feel like since they have the intuitive knowledge and abilities that they may be deemed as credible. So for me, even though I am a upcoming psychic medium, I strive on authenticity and integrity. So I'm just not going to sit up here and make up any of this stuff like, in relation to Lorenzen Wright, like I mentioned earlier, he came to me multiple times. I didn't really know about him, but he was like trying to get my attention because he wanted to have a message about something. But, I of course ignored him, but then I intervened and I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and talk. I'm all ears with what you want to say. So like I said, like all the stuff that I put out, it's not fabricated, it's not twisted in any kind of way, because like I said, I strive on integrity and I don't want the spirits to feel bad. Like I have respect for these spirits that I communicate with, you know what I mean? And they are obviously going to let me know if I make a mistake about something. Like if I'm writing something down or whatever, they're like, oh no, I didn't say that. This is what I said. Something like that, So that's also important to put out there. So if anyone is a fan of Abigail Noel, just know she is not 100% factual with the information she puts out there. Now, obviously, she's a lot more older than I am, so she is, I guess, seasoned in some areas, and, she has assisted with law enforcement to help work on cold cases and things of that nature. Not to say she's a complete liar. It's just that she's not 100% factual with what she puts out there. So I just wanted to state that. So this is not coming from me. This is coming from both Lorenzen Wright and Prince Rogers Nelson, because she definitely, like I said earlier, she definitely posts a lot about Prince, and Prince was like, just shaking his head like, no, I don't communicate with you, baby. No, it's not it. But anyway, but yeah, so this whole situation with Lorenzen Wright, I feel that I'm glad he was able to get some justice with the whole case being settled. I feel like with Shira Wright I think she was like trying to get like a lesser sentence and trying to petition that, and the courts is like, no, we're not going to do that. And I feel like the mother, Miss Deborah Marion, she's not going for it. You took advantage of, like, not saying her, but Shira, she took advantage of the situation, and, you know, it was all about greed and, you know, being hurt in the situation, you know, and I kind of empathize in a way, but at the same time, wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any marriage tips or anything like that, but I just feel like, you know, when it comes to marrying a public figure, someone who is of prestige and power, I mean, well, that's the same thing, but, you know, who has a lot of money and things of that nature, it comes with the territory, you know. There's going to be all kind of temptation. And Lorenzen also mentioned that he had a lot of temptation going around, and, you know, and that's understandable. However, it's not right, but that's what it comes with when you're a public figure. And unfortunately, his life was taken away at the hands of, you know, greedy people who had a vendetta against him, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that Lorenzen is in a better place right now. He's not where he was. He has finally transitioned. I have assisted with that, and his daughter, 𝓟𝓪𝓻𝓪𝓻. So they are happy together, and, you know, I will try my best to continue burning the ancestor money from Galacticus. And yeah, that's all I can really say about that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Pretty Mess Podcast. You know, I definitely got some wonderful things cooking up, you know what I mean? So this is just the beginning. It doesn't stop from here. And I'm signing off. Bye.